In which teams do you belong? Which teams are most important to you? The basic purpose of working on a team is problem solving. So as leaders, we must understand the workings and functions of the team. The learning outcomes for this chapter are definitions of teams, characteristics, distinguishing between different types of teams, their functions, and identifying optimal team participation. What is the definition of a team? It's bringing together people with different expertise to develop and implement best practices, bringing people together that have different ideas and working toward a common goal. Look at these characteristics and consider the teams that you belong to. Do they have these characteristics? Are there clearly articulated goals? Does everyone on the team have a role and responsibility? Are there shared norms? Is everybody there for the same reason? And does everyone bring their unique skills and perspectives to the general workings of the team? Think about this with your own teams. We'll discuss these in class. So when we're developing teams, we start out with forming or training. We storm or infight. Then we norm when we become organized. We perform when we're mature and we work together. And then adjourning is finalizing, monitoring our progress, and making any changes if we need to. Are teams worth it? Do we get the results from teams that we're looking for? Discuss these questions in your group. It's this slide and the next slide. There are 6 questions altogether. We will review these in class, but think about these questions. And is a single discipline or person sufficient to resolving a problem? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So there's no right or wrong, but I would like you to discuss these in your group, and then we will talk about them in class. And here are the other 3. So these are the types of teams that we see in our school districts. And these are basically for child study. So we know that in terms of special ed, there are these 3 models used in our schools. The next slide identifies these, defines these models. Multidisciplinary, they all do their own thing. You have your psychologist, your social worker, your learning consultant. They do their speech and language. They do their own testing, come up with their own results, and then put together the child study team, put together the IEP for the child study team to present to parents. They really don't work together. Interdisciplinary, everybody does their own testing, but meets ahead of time to coordinate the goals and objectives on the IEP based on their assessment data. Now, the transdisciplinary team is the most effective team because what happens there is everybody certainly does their own testing. They put together the IEP together, but the beauty of it is they will go into the classroom and work with the teachers and make it very transdisciplinary. So the speech therapist might come in and implement those strategies in the classroom. The learning consultant can come in and make some suggestions for strategies, best practices. So this is the most collaborative team, but it's the most difficult because of time. How many individuals on child study teams have the kind of time where they can observe children, evaluate children, and then turn around and go into the classroom to implement? Not many. It takes a lot of coordination and it takes a lot of leadership. So when we talk about student-centered teams, these are designed to assist teachers in accommodating students with academic and/or behavioral issues. So we always have, these are almost consultant teams, where if you're on a committee or if you're on the RTI team, for example, maybe your basic skills teacher would actually come into the class and help you work with a student. It's a very hands-on approach. But at the end, you see here special ed teams. Who are the members of this team? Teachers are certainly members, and parents are members. And then you have your other personnel that are responsible for the assessment and the development of the program. Everybody should be on the same page in terms of the why. What are the goals? Does the student have a disability? That's your first question to answer. What educational programs should be put in place based on the assessment data? How are we going to do this? How are we going to implement this? And then when? During the school year, does the child get an extended school year program? All of these things we think about, but that's your special ed team, and everybody should have input into that. So this slide is very self-explanatory, and every team needs leaders, and every person on that team has a role as a leader in terms of sharing their expertise, because everybody's so different that there are different times when people can take over the leadership role. So this is role reversal. Sometimes you're the leader, sometimes you sit back and take the suggestions. But the most important thing is to have this collaborative relationship and to agree to disagree, leave your ego at the door, and make sure that you don't lose sight of why you are there. Now, the information in this chapter is very general, and it applies to all teams. So what you will be doing in your group, there are certain questions that you will be answering and recording. First of all, this is a scenario. Students in universities often dread group work assignments as the need to collaborate, and sometimes it means lack of control, and other times it seems that some members of the group find themselves doing all the work. And whenever I've assigned a group project to an undergraduate class, I know that some of the students in the group do a lot of the work, and others coast and let everybody else do the work, and they think they're going to get the same grade. Also, some people like to be in charge, and when you're working in a group, you sometimes aren't. And you have to take a step back and let somebody else take control and be in charge. How do these concerns affect teamwork in school, whether it's loss of control or a few doing the work for all the others? How do various individuals react to the team dynamics that result from those concerns? So think about your experiences working in groups. Have you ever encountered either someone or you perhaps feeling that you're losing control or that you are doing all the work? How have you handled that situation? Share those ideas with your group. And what I'd like you to do is, there are 3 videos that go along with this chapter. The first one is working on teams, and it's Tuckman's model, and it talks about the stages of teams. And the number 2 is, it's a story of the turtle and the rabbit, and it has a clear message. So what I'd like you to do is watch the first video, Tuckman's model, and just discuss the stages of team development, and watch the second one and look at the real message. The real message is capitalizing on our own competencies and sharing our areas of expertise and listening while others share theirs. And it's really situational leadership. Sometimes you're the leader, sometimes you're not the leader, sometimes somebody else is. think of your own experiences and give an example. How does this relate to your child's study team? So you've got a few things to do. The first question, and then you've got video 1, just talk about the stages of group organization. And then number 2, the message is think of your own experiences and how does this relate to your child's study team.